Cheesecake is my wife's love language, and it's also the rest of her family's. So that's why when I make it for them, I don't make just any old cheesecake. No, I hook them up with a double chocolate cheesecake. Then I top it off with chocolate. Then I put on chocolate whipped cream. Then I put on berries and sometimes a berry sauce. Yep, this is good. Let's start off by making the crust for that cheesecake. Sound good? Let's bake.
We are going to add 1 pound, 4 ounces, or 567 grams, or 48 individual cream-filled chocolate cookies to a food processor, better known as Oreos. And of course, when you do this, you got to try one, right? Once they're all in there, we're next going to add in 1 stick or 113 grams of melted unsalted butter. Add the top to the food processor, and what I want to do here is pulse it several times to break it down until it becomes a crumb-like mixture. I know when it's done, when it's sort of packed in the sides like this, because I also want to pack it into a pan. All right, let's briefly set it to the side.
Let's just get this out of the way. In no way, shape, or form is this cheesecake healthy, like at all. It's accelerated indulgence. So on occasion, let's just enjoy it for what it is. All right, here's what we do with these cookie crumbs.
I've got a 10-inch springform pan. I'm going to rub some cold butter on the bottom part of the pan, and I'll explain why here in just a second. Take that bottom part, fit it into the springform pan, lock in the buckle. Next, I'm going to add a parchment round right in here. You could cut this out from parchment paper, or they sell these. This is just to make sure nothing sticks. Now, let's add in our processed cookie crumbs. I have a large spoon here. You could also use a glass if you'd like. We're going to start pushing the crumbs to the outside of the pan. We want to pack it on the sides and the bottom. That's right, this crust is going to surround it. So I pat down and pack it in with the spoon side while using the palm portion of my thumb to hold it down so it doesn't go over the top. Once it's packed into the sides, then I pack it into the bottom. Take the time to do this. We're not in a hurry here. This right here looks totally perfect even with the small imperfections. All right, we're going in the oven at 350 degrees or 176 degrees Celsius, and we're going to bake it for just 10 minutes.
And sorry, not sorry, the crust is the most complimentary part to the cheesecake. Just like a pie, the crust is the best part. That's why I want double of it. If you don't want it around the outside, just do half the amount of cookies, half the amount of butter. You can just put it on the bottom, no problem. All right, before we get into the batter of this cheesecake, we need to set up 2 really quick things.
We are going to add 1 gallon or 3.8 liters of water to a large pot. Turn the heat to low, medium, and begin simmering it. In a separate small sauce pot, we're going to fill it with water about 1/4 of the way. This is going to be a double boiler for us. So let's turn the heat to low, medium, and start to get it simmering. Now let's go back and check out our cookie crumb crust. Looks excellent. We're just going to set it to the side to cool. Now in a stand mixer or electric hand mixers, we are going to add in 24 ounces or 680 grams of full fat cream cheese. This also has the whip attachment. What I like to do is mix it on low just for a few seconds to get things moving around so they're not shooting out of our stand mixer, and then turn it to medium-high speed. We're going to do this for a total of 2 minutes.
One of the most crucial procedures to this recipe is making sure your cream cheese and eggs are at room temperature. So all I do is pull both of them out, put them on the countertop 2 hours before I'm ready to make the recipe. All right, let's keep whipping that cream cheese.
After about 2 minutes of mixing the cream cheese, we're going to completely stop the mixer and scrape the bowl using a rubber spatula. This is very important. I'm probably going to do this 4 more times to make sure our batter is smooth. All right, let's turn the speed to low. Then we're going to add in 1 1/4 cups or 250 grams of granulated sugar. Again, on low speed, then turning it up to medium-high. We're going to do this for another 2 minutes. The sugar and the granules actually help break down the cream cheese even more to make sure it's smooth. After this time, you're starting to get the routine. Let's stop and scrape the bowl completely. And let's also just have a look at the cream cheese. It's pretty dang smooth. I'm just going to rub it with another spoon and see. There's no big chunks in there. Excellent. All right, at this point, we're not going to start it yet. Let's go back over to our double boiler. The water is simmering. In a separate large bowl, we're going to add in 2 cups or 320 grams of semi-sweet chocolate chips. Add it right to the top of the small pot with the simmering water. All right, we're just going to move some things around. You can see it's starting to melt, but we're not going to hover over this. We're going to let it melt down because we have some other things to do. All right, back to the stand mixer. At this point, we're going to add in a 1/2 cup or 120 grams of full fat sour cream. All right, once everything is in there, again, I like to start it always on low speed and then whip it again on medium-high speed, this time just for 1 minute. Let's turn it down to low speed. At this point, I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon or 5 milliliters of vanilla extract. Then I have 4 large eggs plus 1 egg yolk of room temperature eggs. We're going to add this in 1 egg at a time on low speed again. And we're not going to add in the next egg until the one before is completely mixed in. Take the time to do this. Again, we're not in any big hurry. Once it is mixed in there, we are going to stop it. And again, we want to scrape the bowl. This is crucial at this stage to make sure there are no large chunks of cream cheese. Okay, don't turn it on yet. Let's go back and have a look at our chocolate. Lots of multitasking here. All right, I can see that the chocolate's melted. It's nice and smooth. Excellent. We're just going to briefly set it to the side to cool slightly on the countertop. Back to the stand mixer. What we're going to do at this stage is turn it to low speed. Then we're going to add in 1 teaspoon or 7 grams of sea salt. Next, I have a 1/4 cup or 25 grams of cocoa powder. This is part of the double chocolate process. Once that's added in there, we're next going to add in 3 tablespoons or 27 grams of cornstarch. This is going to help bind our batter and make sure it holds together. Then we're going to add in 1 teaspoon or 3 grams of espresso powder. Espresso is just one of those little chef tricks to enhance the flavor of chocolate. So more intense chocolate and better chocolate cheesecake. Amen. All right, if you don't have espresso, what you can add in is a 1/4 cup or 60 milliliters of very strong hot coffee. All right, here's what we do now. We're going to mix it on low speed just until all the ingredients are mixed in. Then I'm going to go back and grab our melted chocolate using a rubber spatula, scrape all of this chocolate into the stand mixer on low speed. This is the second part of the double chocolate cheesecake. Then at this stage, also crucial, obviously, you're probably sick of me saying it, stop it, scrape the bowl, get everything out of there, off the sides and in there. All right. Next, I've got 3 tablespoons or 45 milliliters of milk. You can heat this up in the microwave or scald it in a small sauce pot. Regardless, it needs to be hot. We're going to pour it in there. This is sort of my last-ditch effort to ensure that the batter isn't cold, it's warm, it's to temperature. I don't want any cracks or anything like that in my cheesecake. All right, give it a quick mix on medium-high speed just for like 2 seconds, just to make sure it's all together. All right, the batter is now officially finished. Say you wanted to change the recipe just a little bit or maybe enhance it a little bit more. What you could do in place of that whole milk is add in 3 tablespoons or 45 milliliters of warm Kahlua or Bailey's. You'd have Kahlua chocolate cheesecake or Bailey's chocolate cheesecake. Yeah, awesome. All right, let's load this batter up into the pan. Using a rubber spatula, scrape all of the batter right into our crumb crust in our springform pan. It should go right to the top. I'm going to use a spatula just to sort of settle it and try to get as many air pockets out as possible. Then I'm going to place it on a large sheet of aluminum foil. It's about 2 feet by 2 feet. Then we're going to crunch it up and wrap it. We don't want to go over the top, but we want to go up around the sides. Next, I have a 2-inch hotel pan, better known as a 200 hotel pan. Now, remember that large 1 gallon or 3.8 liters of simmering hot water? We're pouring it right into the pan and filling it to the halfway mark. This is going to help create a moist environment in our oven to ensure our cheesecake does not crack. Now you know why there's foil wrapped around it so no water gets in. Add our cheesecake right to the center of our hot water bath. Now we're going in the oven at 350 degrees or 176 degrees Celsius for 50 minutes on the dot. Be gentle when placing it in there. Now I know there are some different schools of thought here when it comes to baking cheesecakes, but I was always taught a hot water bath. In fact, one of the first jobs I ever had at a country club in St. Louis, Mary was the pastry chef. She said, I don't care what the ingredients are in the cheesecake, you put it in a hot water bath to make sure that it cooks perfectly evenly and no cracks on the top. Okay, while this cooks for 50 minutes, we can actually do a couple other things. Let's make a little raspberry sauce, shall we? So in a small size sauce pot, I'm going to add in 2 cups or 170 grams of fresh raspberries. You could use frozen. Next, we're going to add in a 1/4 cup or 50 grams of sugar, 2 tablespoons or 30 milliliters of cold water, and the juice of 1/2 lemon, which really equals about 2 tablespoons or 30 milliliters of liquid. We're going to turn the heat to low-medium and simmer it for about 20 to 25 minutes. You'll see it start to bubble a little bit on the outside. At this stage, I like to take a fork and break it down even more. I want to influence more of that raspberry flavor into the liquid. Now, after another 10 minutes of cooking, after I break it down, let's have a look. It's delicious. It's concentrated. It's going to be very, very flavorful. Then we're going to strain it through a fine mesh strainer or a chinois. Then using a spoon or a rubber spatula, what you want to do is press down firmly to extract as much liquid from the seeds as possible. There should only be seeds left over. You'll get about a cup or 240 grams of the raspberry sauce. Then we're just going to pop it in the refrigerator and let it cool completely. Now, let's go over and have a look at our cheesecake. Very gently open the door. I'm just going to give it a few little knocks. The center is slightly jiggly. This is perfect. Doesn't need to be cooked all the way here, and here's why. Let's close the door to our oven. Going to turn the oven completely off and let it set in the oven for 1 hour.
So we have obviously even more time. So I want to show you how to make a chocolate whipped cream. Now you've seen me make whipped cream several times. This one is a little different, obviously, because of chocolate. Also, I want to show you how to stabilize it so you have nice stiff peaks for several days and your whipped cream doesn't fall after 1 day. All right, here's what you do.
In a small bowl, I have 1.5 tablespoons or 22.5 milliliters of cold water. We're next going to sprinkle in 1 teaspoon or 3 grams of unflavored gelatin. I like to sprinkle all over the top. Then we're going to mix it in with a spoon just to make sure all the powder is covered in liquid. Then we're going to let it bloom for about 2 to 3 minutes. In the meantime, we're going to add 2 cups or 473 milliliters of cold, heavy whipping cream. Then we're going to add in a half cup or 50 grams of granulated sugar, followed up with 1 teaspoon or 5 milliliters of vanilla extract, then a quarter cup or 25 grams of cocoa powder. Right, we are going to start turning the speed of our stand mixer with the whisk attachment on low speed to make sure cream and cocoa powder isn't flying all over the place. Then we're going to boost it up to medium-high speed. In the meantime, as soon as we turn it on, we want to melt that gelatin liquid mixture. Honestly, it's probably only going to cook in the microwave for like 10 seconds, just until it's melted. Let's take it out, set it to the side to cool slightly. All right, back to the stand mixer. We've been whipping it for about 2 minutes total. Stiff peaks are really starting to form. We're going to pour in the liquid gelatin. It's okay if it's still a little bit warm. Once it hits that cold cream in there, it will actually activate it and start to stabilize it. This looks perfect. Stiff peaks that's stabilized, excellent. Now what we're going to do is stuff it up in a piping bag. Any star tip will do. If you've never done this before, hold the bag in one hand and then scoop as much of the chocolate whipped cream through a rubber spatula into the piping bag. Then what I like to do is push it down, twist it, and boom, we've got perfect chocolate whipped cream into the refrigerator until we need it.
Now, is there going to be leftover chocolate whipped cream once I'm done decorating the chocolate cheesecake? Yes, of course. But let me tell you something. It goes amazing in coffee. It goes awesome on my torta caprese or even on my molten lava cake. And remember, it's stabilized. You're going to have stiff peaks for probably 4 to 5 days. It's awesome. Use it however you'd like. All right, let's check on this cheesecake.
Gently take it out of the oven. We've got hot water and a delicate cheesecake. Looks perfect. A couple little air pockets on the top. No big deal. Let's remove it from that hot water bath. Carefully take off the foil. Don't touch the top of it here. Then we're going to transfer the cheesecake right onto a resting rack and let it cool completely to room temperature.
And I'll tell you what, Comies, my chefs in training out there, this is pretty good looking. Thank you to that hot water bath. No cracks. There are a few little air pockets. No big deal. And guess what? If your cheesecake did crack, we're going to be covering it in chocolate ganache. No one's ever going to know but you and I. And also, cracks are purely cosmetic. They have nothing to do with the flavor of your cheesecake, so don't sweat it. The hardest part now, the waiting game. This is probably going to take about 2 to 3 hours to cool down to room temperature. Then we're going to put it in the refrigerator and let it completely cool for another 4 to 6 hours. Once it's chilled, then we make that ganache topping.
So once the cheesecake is cool, we're taking it out of the refrigerator, having a look. Looks fantastic. Barely fell, honestly, at all. Looks awesome. You can also see the cookie crumbs start to pull away naturally from the pan. Perfect. Let's slowly release that buckle. Should completely pull away. Awesome. Now we're going to push the cheesecake up from the bottom through the top. The crust looks awesome. This looks so good, you guys. All right. Place it down on the countertop. Now we're going to add a small sauce pot filled about 1/4 of the way with water. Turn the heat to medium low. Again, this is for a double boiler. Once it begins to simmer slightly, we're going to add in a much larger bowl. Then we're going to add in 4 ounces or 113 grams of semi-sweet chocolate chips, then a half cup or 118 milliliters of heavy whipping cream. Now this is going to start melting and cooking very quickly. So we're going to stay over top of it and move it around with the rubber spatula until smooth, just like this. Awesome. Remove it from the heat, go directly over to the cheesecake and pour it over the top. Now what we want to do is spread this chocolate everywhere. You have some options. You can use a large spoon or an offset spatula. We're going to push it to the sides, and this is why, who cares about any imperfections on the top? Because we're going to cover it, and we did cover it. All right, it will settle a little bit more. We're going to pop it in the refrigerator just for about 20 to 30 minutes or until it's hardened up.
And I'm telling you what, this cheesecake is going to be nothing short of gorgeous. It's always about those techniques, my friend. All right, when it comes to plating this up, it's a little bit extensive, so I'm going to come in and out of slow-mo for you. Here's how you do it.
This is also known as a hot water bath. I got a large container of very hot water. I'm going to add in a chef's knife and heat it up. This is to ensure with every mark or every slice we take, we put it back in here and wipe it clean so that every slice is clean and there's not chunks of chocolate cheesecake. All right, speaking of cheesecake, let's pull it out. Looks absolutely gorgeous, perfect. It's settled. I told you we're good to go. All right, so once the knife is hot, we're going to wipe it clean with a towel. Now I'm just going to make marks. So I'm going to go in about 1/4 of an inch all the way down. Perfect. All right, again, let's run it through our hot water, get the knife nice and clean. Then we're going to take one more little mark going through to make a large T. Now, once you've done this, the rest of it is up to you for however big you want to do it. I want 12 slices, so I'm going to take those little markings and make 12 total slices. You could have 8 if you want big slices, up to you. Just be sure to run it through the hot water bath in between each marking. Now, to plate it up, now that I have my markings, I'm going to do a little chocolate whipped cream dollop by squeezing and pulling up on each little slice. Then I'm going to place a fresh raspberry on top of each of those chocolate chip whipped cream dollops. Then the moment of truth, I've got a clean hot knife. We're going to take a slice. Then of course, be sure to get in that hot water and wipe it clean before taking the next slice of it. And let's pull it out and have a look. Yeah, that's awesome. Looks absolutely delicious. So creamy, so amazing. Then for decorations, that raspberry sauce, using a spoon or in a squeeze bottle, make a design. You can eat this tonight if you start early enough in the morning.
And what my wife and in-laws like to do is put this in the freezer and eat it frozen. It's like chocolate cheesecake ice cream. Yeah, it's really good. And if you like this, I'm certain you are going to love my apple tart tatin. It is so good. I've got a great recipe video. See you on there.